Cap down.
Yes, I didn't say. What are you looking so sad about, Jap?
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm really insulted. That's not right, what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting on, but you talking. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talking about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Frazier, one time during my career, I bombed a Formula 1 tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
What's happening, my people? It's Cat Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Salute to Miss Cass. Without her, none of this would be possible. Salute to everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, the Boxtorian. Today, the fight of the century. The fight of the century. How's the family today? It's Friday. We are at the end of another big week of boxing history. Sunday, March 8th, is the 55th anniversary of 1971's fight of the century. Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier. Muhammad Ali challenging Frazier for his undisputed World Heavyweight Championship. And we're going to go, today's show, we're going to talk about the fight of the century to celebrate the 55th anniversary, March 8th, 1971. 55 years ago this Sunday. But it's Friday, at the end of another big week of boxing history. Everybody ready for the weekend? It's upon us. This is the first Friday of the month. We normally would do a profile of active boxer today, but we're going to do that Monday. It's going to be Jerron Boots Ennis. Wanted to do the fight of the century before the anniversary, which is Sunday instead of afterwards. So yeah, Jerron Boots Ennis will be Monday. Okay. But the fight of the century, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier. Both men had a legitimate claim to the title. Ali was the undefeated heavyweight champion when he was stripped in 1967. And then Joe Frazier ended up with the titles by the time Ali came back. And he had won them right in the ring. So they settled it. The fight of the century. We're going to get into it today. The fight, the political situation surrounding the fight, the racial things that were going on in the United States at that time. We're going to dig down deep all about the fight of the century, the fighters' backgrounds, all of it, the aftermath of the fight, all of it. Today on Cast Sports the Box Story, and bringing you all that boxing history. But how's everybody today? Excuse me. Ready for the weekend? It's upon us. Better get ready for it. Okay, we're going to get ready to start out with our fight of the day. As we always start the show with a fight from the past. Could be last weekend. Could be the 70s, 40s, 1800s. That's a fight from the boxing's past. It's a great sport. So let's get ready to get into it. Today's fight of the day now. To get things started. Okay, today's fight of the day is Joe Frazier versus Jimmy Ellis, February 16th, 1970. Smoking Joe smokes Ellis. Smoking Joe smokes Ellis. Fight of the day today. Okay, let's talk about that. All the way back to 1970. This was the fight that made Smoking Joe the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Joe Frazier smoked Jimmy Ellis to become Ali's successor. Okay? There's a shot of Smoking Joe and Jimmy. Of course, Jimmy on the left, Smoking Joe on the right. Talk about it. Rewind to the start of the 1970s, and the heavyweight waters were more than a little muddled. With the stripping of undefeated heavyweight king Muhammad Ali, this for draft evasion on religious grounds, the world needed a new heavyweight ruler. A tournament was set up to decide the WBA belt, while an unbeaten, snarling, hungry, mean left hooker out of Philly named Joe Frazier tore apart Buster Mathis to claim the New York State Athletic Commission heavyweight title. Jimmy Ellis, a former middleweight, the great Angelo Dundee had rebuilt as a heavyweight, defeated Jerry Quarry to win the WBA version of the crown. Now, with the exiled Ali battling only in the courts, the two rival champions had no option other than to face one another. The vacant WBC title also on the line on February 16th of 1970. Frazier and Ellis fought inside an 18,000 full Madison Square Garden. Frazier was unbeaten at 24-0, and Smoking Joe was 26 years old. Ellis was 4 years older, and he was sporting a 27-win, 5-loss record. But as a heavyweight, Ellis was unbeaten. Remember, it started at middleweight. All 5 losses were at middleweight. Heavyweight, he was unbeaten. Now, the fight proved to be pretty short, but at the same time, pretty memorable. At least Frazier's crushing performance was memorable. After a close opening session, Frazier took over. His blend of aggression, power, and desire, seeing him dominate the action. Ellis, a fine boxer, and he was trying to keep Joe at range with his jab. But Frazier was relentless, his left hook finding its home in round 3. Later in the round, Frazier sent Ellis spinning around with another sizzling left hook. Ellis was being beaten up. In round 4, Frazier's key weapon again found its home. The mighty blow sending Ellis clattering down in his own corner. Bravely, Jimmy beat the count, but he was soon dropped heavily again, this time being put on his back. Ellis somehow beat the count and was up at 9, but Angelo Dundee, his trainer, had seen enough, and he would not let his dazed fighter back out for the 5th round. Frazier was the new champion, but he and almost everyone else knew he would not be the man until he beat Ali. The fight of the century was the most sought-after fight in decades. Finally, it happened in March of 1971. But for now, Frazier, Ali, and the world's fight fans had to wait to see who would emerge as the true undisputed heavyweight king. Interestingly, Frazier and Ellis met again in March of 1975. The non-title fight going down in Australia. Frazier again stopped Ellis, this time in the 9th round. It was Smoking Joe Frazier's last win of his career. Not his last fight, but his last win. And there you have it, the fight of the day. Joe Frazier versus Jimmy Ellis, won by Smoking Joe Frazier. There he is. Okay. So now, today, the fight of the century. The challenger Muhammad Ali against the world's undisputed heavyweight champion, Smoking Joe Frazier. All right. Get into the fight of the century now. All right. Fight of the century. That's today's show. All about it. Okay, we're ready. The fight of the century. The fight of the century was a professional heavyweight boxing match between Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali, contested on March 8th, 1971, at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Both fighters entered undefeated, with Frazier holding recognition as champion from bodies such as the New York State Athletic Commission, and after defeating Jimmy Ellis for the vacant title, while Ali sought to reclaim his position following a license revocation and federal conviction for refusing induction into the U.S. military amid the Vietnam War. Frazier emerged victorious by unanimous decision after 15 rounds, marking Ali's first professional defeat and featuring a notable knockdown of Ali by Frazier's left hook in the final round. The fight drew an attendance of 20,455 and generated significant revenue, with each fighter guaranteed a record purse of $2.5 million and total worldwide gross estimates reaching $18 to $20 million, including closed-circuit television viewership estimated at 300 million globally. It encapsulated broader American cultural tensions, positioning the outspoken Ali, known for his anti-war stance and brash persona, against the working-class Frazier, who supported the war effort and endured personal attacks from Ali during pre-fight promotion. The event's hype, amplified by extensive media coverage and celebrity involvement, such as Frank Sinatra photographing ringside, elevated it beyond sport into a societal spectacle. Frazier's win solidified his status as the era's dominant heavyweight, though the physical toll hospitalized him for weeks with eye damage, while Ali quickly prepared for rematches that defined their trilogy. The fight's legacy endures as a benchmark for boxing rivalries, highlighting endurance and tactical pressure. Frazier's relentless forward style overwhelming Ali's speed and footwork over the distance, despite debates over judging and Ali's ring rust from his 3.5-year absence. Okay, let's look at the fighters' backgrounds. First, Muhammad Ali's path to the fight. Okay. Fighters' backgrounds. Muhammad Ali's path to the fight. Muhammad Ali, born Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. on January 17, 1942, in Louisville, Kentucky, entered professional boxing after securing the light heavyweight gold medal at the 1960 Summer Olympics in Rome, Italy, by defeating Zbigniew Pietrukowski in the final. His pro debut came on October 29, 1960, against Tony Hunsaker in Louisville, Kentucky, resulting in a unanimous decision victory over 6 rounds. Ali compiled an undefeated record through quick knockouts and decisions against mid-level opponents, showcasing his speed, footwork, and predictive defense, often dubbed on February. Ali showcases his speed, footwork, and predictive defense. Okay, sorry about that. On February 25th, 1964, at the Miami Beach Convention Hall, the 22-year-old Ali upset heavily favored heavyweight champion Sonny Liston, winning when Liston failed to answer the bell for the 7th round due to a shoulder injury, claiming the undisputed heavyweight title. In March 1964, shortly after the Liston fight, Ali publicly converted to the Nation of Islam and adopted the name Muhammad Ali, reflecting his affiliation with the group led by Elijah Muhammad. He defended the title 9 times between 1964 and 1967, including a technical knockout of former champion Floyd Patterson in the 12th round on November 22nd, 1965 in Las Vegas, Nevada, where Ali toyed with Patterson while refusing early finishes to prolong punishment. Other defenses featured wins over George Chuvalo, Henry Cooper, Brian London, and Cleveland Williams, maintaining his 29-0 record with 23 knockouts. Ali's brash predictions and psychological warfare, such as forecasting exact round stoppages, elevated his profile beyond athletics into cultural icon status. Ali's trajectory halted on April 28, 1967, when he refused induction into the U.S. Army at an Armed Forces Examining and Interest Station in Houston, Texas, declaring, "I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong," and citing conscientious objection based on religious principles opposing war. On June 20th, 1967, a federal jury convicted him of draft evasion, imposing a 5-year prison sentence, a $10,000 fine, and prompting state boxing commissions, including the New York State Athletic Commission, to strip his title and revoke his license indefinitely. Eventually, Joe Frazier became recognized as champion in Ali's stead, and the major boxing commissions enforced a ban that sidelined Ali for 3.5 years, which was his prime, at an estimated career cost of $43 million in lost earnings, during which he appealed convictions through federal courts while engaging in poetry, lectures, and activism to earn a living. By 1970, with appeals pending and selected state commissions allowing fights outside major sanctioning bodies, Ali staged his return. On October 26, 1970, in Atlanta's City Auditorium, permitted by Georgia's Independent Athletic Commission, he faced top contender Jerry Quarry, securing a 3rd-round technical knockout after opening a severe cut over Quarry's eye, drawing 7,132 spectators and signaling retained ring sharpness despite the layoff. His second comeback occurred on December 7th, 1970 at Madison Square Garden against Oscar Bonavena, a durable veteran Ali had previously beaten in 1968 exhibitions. Ali prevailed by unanimous decision over 15 rounds, though Bonavena's pressure tested Ali's endurance and exposed minor ring rust. These victories against ranked heavyweights rebuilt Ali's credentials and pressured promoters to arrange a title clash with Frazier, undefeated at 26-0, culminating in the March 8, 1971 showdown, despite Ali's legal status remaining unresolved until the U.S. Supreme Court overturned his conviction on June 28, 1971, which came after the fight of the century against Frazier. Okay, so now let's look at Joe Frazier's rise as champion. Joe Frazier's rise as champion. Okay. Take a look at Smoking Joe's rise as champion. Joe Frazier, standing at 5 feet 11 and a half inches and weighing around 205 pounds, began his amateur boxing career in Philadelphia after moving from rural South Carolina in 1959. He captured the Philadelphia Golden Gloves heavyweight title in 1962, 1963, and 1964. Selected as an alternate for the U.S. team at the 1964 Tokyo Olympics after losing the trials final to Buster Mathis, Frazier entered the heavyweight tournament when Mathis withdrew due to injury. Frazier knocked out 3 opponents before defeating Czechoslovakia's Josef Demek by unanimous decision in the final on October 23, 1964, securing the gold medal despite suffering a broken left thumb in the semifinals. And significant, the broken left thumb was on his left hook hand. Okay? So Joe, despite all that, got the gold medal. Frazier turned pro on August 16, 1965, stopping Woody Goss by a first-round TKO in Philadelphia, launching an undefeated streak marked by his relentless pressure and devastating left hook. By late 1967, Frazier stood at 19-0 with 17 knockouts, training under manager Yank Durham at the Clover Lake Gym. Following Muhammad Ali's title strip by the major commissions in April 1967 for refusing military induction, the heavyweight division split. The WBA crowned Jimmy Ellis champion after an 8-man tournament, while the New York State Athletic Commission viewed Frazier as the lineal successor due to his dominance over top contenders. On March 4th, 1968, Frazier claimed the vacant New York State Athletic Commission heavyweight title by stopping Buster Mathis by 11th round TKO at Madison Square Garden, improving to 20-0 and earning recognition from the Ring magazine as their champion. He defended the New York State Athletic Commission belt on June 23, 1969 against Jerry Quarry, Ellis's recent conqueror and a leading WBA ranked contender, winning by 7th round retirement after Quarry's corner halted the fight due to cuts and swelling. A fight later named the Ring magazine's 1969 Fight of the Year. Frazier unified the titles on February 16, 1970, knocking out Jimmy Ellis in the 5th round at Madison Square Garden, absorbing Ellis's early punches before overwhelming him with body shots and hooks to become the undisputed heavyweight champion, recognized by both the New York State Athletic Commission and the WBA. This victory, attended by 18,923 spectators, solidified Frazier's status as the division's top figure heading into his marquee clash with the returning Ali. Okay, pre-fight promotion and rivalry. Pre-fight promotion and rivalry. Now, okay, we're gonna take a look at the pre-fight promotion and rivalry. Trash talk and public feud. Trash talk and public feud. Muhammad Ali escalated the personal rivalry with Joe Frazier through a series of public insults and psychological taunts in the lead up to their March 8, 1971 heavyweight title fight, framing Frazier as illegitimate in his championship status due to Ali's 1967 stripping of the title for draft refusal. Ali dubbed Frazier an Uncle Tom, accusing him of subservience to the white establishment by accepting the belt and supporting the Vietnam War effort, with Ali stating, "Joe Frazier is an Uncle Tom. He works for the enemy." This rhetoric intensified during press conferences where Ali mocked Frazier's physical appearance, calling him too stupid and too ugly to hold a crown legitimately. Frazier, who had previously aided Ali by lending him money during his boxing ban and lobbying President Richard Nixon for his reinstatement, viewed the attacks as a profound betrayal that deepened their animosity. In response, Frazier labeled Ali a clown and emphasized his own working class authenticity against Ali's perceived arrogance, though Frazier's retorts were often more restrained amid the promotional hype. Public exchanges, including a chaotic 1971 press event captured on video, featured direct confrontations where Ali's verbal barrages prompted physical posturing from both fighters, amplifying media coverage and ticket demand. Mike Mazik, salute, Mike. We're covering the the fight of the century today. Let's salute Mike Mazik. Happy Friday. Okay, we're just looking at the promotion during the lead up to the fight now. Okay. The trash talk extended beyond mere promotion, embedding racial and political undertones as Ali positioned himself as a black liberation icon, contrasting Frazier's apolitical establishment-aligned image, which Frazier resented as an attempt to delegitimize his achievements. Frazier later reflected in his 1996 autobiography that Ali's insults represented a cynical attempt to isolate him from black community support, fueling a grudge that persisted for decades. These exchanges, while boosting the event's profile as the fight of the century, revealed genuine personal fractures, with Ali's barbs targeting Frazier's socioeconomic background and loyalty, and broader societal divisions over race and war. Yeah, I told you, Ali went way overboard in the promotion to that. Way overboard. Okay, political and social dimensions. Political and social dimensions. Muhammad Ali's public refusal of induction into the U.S. Army on April 28, 1967, invoking conscientious objector status, tied to his Nation of Islam beliefs, and stated opposition to the Vietnam War. I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong, resulted in immediate stripping of his heavyweight title by the New York State Athletic Commission and other bodies, a $10,000 fine, a 5-year prison sentence upon conviction for draft evasion on June 20, 1967, and a ban from pro boxing lasting over 3 years. Excuse me. This exile transformed Ali into a symbol of resistance against military conscription and perceived racial inequities in U.S. foreign policy, galvanizing anti-war activists, civil rights advocates, and segments of the Black nationalist movement, while alienating conservatives and establishment figures who viewed his stance as unpatriotic. Excuse me. Viewed his stance as unpatriotic. Now, Joe Frazier ascended to undisputed champion in Ali's absence, unifying the titles by defeating Jimmy Ellis on February 16, 1970, and was recognized by all major commissions as the legitimate holder of the belt Ali had been stripped of. Okay? Frazier was undisputed now. Unlike Ali, Frazier mounted no public challenge to the Vietnam War, having unsuccessfully attempted to enlist 4 times. And Frazier positioned himself as a self-made working-class figure, emblematic of traditional American values, earning quiet endorsement from political conservatives, including invitations to the White House by President Richard M. Nixon, who reportedly hoped a Frazier victory would affirm the status quo. Frazier's supporters, often dubbed hard hats in media accounts, contrasted with Ali's base among hippies and radicals, framing the matchup as a culture proxy war amid national unrest over drafts, urban riots, and assassinations. Ali's pre-fight rhetoric amplified these divides, casting Frazier as an Uncle Tom and the establishment designated black representative, rhetoric that some whites embraced to counter Ali's militancy while inflicting personal harm on Frazier, whose family faced bullying and threats. Within black communities, allegiances split between Ali's separatist, anti-authority appeal and Frazier's embodiment of incremental achievement through sanctioned channels, reflecting tensions between radical reform and accommodationist paths amid ongoing civil rights battles. The March 8, 1971 fight thus transcended sports, mirroring a polarized America with the Supreme Court's eventual 8-0 overturning of Ali's conviction on June 28, 1971, underscored unresolved debates over individual conscience versus state demands. Okay, event details and execution. Event details and execution. Shadow of the Garden, where the fight was held at. Venue, rules, and the weigh-in. Okay. Now, the fight of the century took place at Madison Square Garden in New York City on March 8, 1971, drawing a sold-out crowd of 20,455 spectators. The venue, a historic arena for boxing, hosted the heavyweight championship fight under the jurisdiction of the New York State Athletic Commission. The Garden. Where else could it have been? Okay. The match followed standard pro boxing regulations of the era, consisting of 15 3-minute rounds with 1-minute rest periods between rounds, contested without weight limit as a heavyweight title fight. Referee Arthur McCante Sr. officiated, with judges scoring on a 10-point must system per round. There's a shot of Arthur McCante Sr. Of course, at that time, he had brown hair, but that's an older picture. Probably seen him in some pictures doing this with brown hair. Yeah, Arthur McCante Sr., though, legendary referee. The official weigh-in was conducted on March 7th, 1971, at the Felt Forum adjacent to Madison Square Garden, where Joe Frazier tipped the scales at 205.5 pounds and Muhammad Ali at 215 pounds. The event featured heightened tension, marked by a prolonged stare-down between the fighters after Ali stepped on the scale, underscoring the personal animosity built during pre-fight promotions. And March 7th is significant because, remember, the fight was March 8th, so way back then, they had same day and day before weigh-ins. You remember? A lot of times people say go back to the same day weigh-ins, but back then they had day before weigh-ins too. Had day before and same day, because this fight took place on March 8th, but the weigh-in was on March 7th. Okay? All right, in-ring action and key moments. In-ring action and key moments to the fight of the century. Let's take a look at that. The fight of the century commenced on March 8, 1971 at Madison Square Garden in New York City, pitting undefeated challenger Muhammad Ali against heavyweight champion Joe Frazier in a scheduled 15-round fight under standard boxing rules. Ali, at 215 pounds, opened with his characteristic hand speed and lateral movement, landing jabs and combinations to maintain distance, while verbally taunting Frazier to disrupt his rhythm. Frazier, weighing 205 pounds, countered with bobbing head movement and forward pressure, employing his trademark left hook to target Ali's body and close the distance, absorbing early punches but refusing to yield ring space. In the middle rounds, Frazier's relentless aggression shifted momentum as he pinned Ali against the ropes with probing shots and heavy hooks to the midsection, causing visible fatigue in the challenger despite Ali's clinches and counterpunching. By the 8th round, Frazier led 6-2 on all 3 judges' scorecards, his punches demonstrating greater impact despite Ali landing more overall strikes. Round 11 featured a pivotal exchange where Ali connected with a left hook that staggered Frazier and opened a cut above his eye. But Frazier recovered quickly and resumed his assault, landing consecutive hooks that sagged Ali momentarily before the latter clinched to survive. Frazier's face swelled into a mass of welts from accumulated punishment, while Ali's right eye began to close from repeated left hooks from Frazier. The championship rounds intensified the grueling toe-to-toe battle, with Frazier winning rounds 12 and 13 through sustained bodywork and Ali rebounding slightly in round 14 by sharper jabbing. In the 15th and final round, Frazier delivered a thunderous left hook that floored Ali, the challenger's first knockdown in the fight and a rare career moment, prompting a standing 8 count before Ali rose at 4 and clinched to the belt. Frazier secured a unanimous decision victory with scorecards of 11-4, 8-6, 1 round even, and 9-6, validating his pressure-based style over Ali's elusive but less effective defense in this encounter. Yep, Smoking Joe wins it. Okay? So let's move on. Outcome and technical analysis. Outcome and technical analysis. Excuse me. Excuse me for one moment, please. Then we're going to continue. Okay. Let's continue with outcome and technical analysis now. Fight of the century. The judges' scorecards. The judges' scorecards. Let's analyze the judges' scorecards. The fight of the century on March 8th, 1971, between heavyweight champion Joe Frazier and challenger Muhammad Ali was judged under the New York State Athletic Commission's round-by-round scoring system, where each of the 15 rounds was awarded to one fighter or deemed even, based on effective aggression, ring generalship, and clean punching. Frazier secured a unanimous decision victory, with all three officials favoring him, despite Ali's superior hand speed and occasional dominance in exchanges. The scoring reflected Frazier's consistent pressure and body work, particularly his left hook that floored Ali in the final round, which counted as a round win under the rules. Okay, so you had two judges and a referee scoring this fight. Back then, some fights, two judges, referee. Referee Arthur Mercante scored the fight. 8 rounds for Frazier, 6 rounds for Ali, 1 even. Judge Artie Adala scored the fight. 9 rounds for Frazier, 6 for Ali. Judge Bill Recht scored the fight. 11 rounds for Frazier, 4 for Ali. The 11-4 tally from Recht drew retrospective scrutiny for his margin, as 2 rounds, 2 and 9, were unanimously scored for Ali across all cards, while Frazier swept the remainder on at least 2 cards, underscoring judges' emphasis on Frazier's forward momentum over Ali's defensive clinching and jabbing. No appeals or irregularities were formally raised post-fight, affirming the result on the 1971 standards, where referees like Mercante, a veteran of over 100 major fights, held scoring authority alongside 2 ringside judges. Post-fight medical and performance assessments. Post-fight medical and performance assessments. Both of them been a little bruised up there. Following the March 8, 1971 fight at Madison Square Garden, Joe Frazier exhibited severe facial trauma, including a bloody nose and significant swelling around both eyes, yet no permanent vision impairment was diagnosed. Frazier was admitted to St. Luke's Hospital in Philadelphia on March 17th due to elevated blood pressure attributed to the fight's physical toll, accompanied by eye inflammation, but negative tests for retinal detachment or other ocular damage. His hospital stay extended approximately weeks, linked to monitoring for potential kidney strain from hypertension, rather than acute fight-related fractures or internal injuries. Muhammad Ali sustained a markedly swollen right jaw from Frazier's 15-round left hook that floored him, prompting a brief hospital visit for x-rays that ruled out fractures or dental issues requiring extraction. Ali's injuries proved less debilitating overall than Frazier's, allowing a swift return to training without extended hospitalization, consistent with his history of rapid recovery from knockdowns. Performance evaluations based on retrospective punch tracking data revealed Frazier landing 378 of 1,024 punches thrown for 37% accuracy, including 365 power shots comprised 63% accuracy of his power shots for Frazier, outpacing Ali's 330 punches landed from 500 attempts, 66% accuracy for Ali, but fewer total impacts. This disparity underscored Frazier's edge in sustained volume and body-head combinations, enabling him to maintain pressure despite accumulating damage, while Ali's higher connect rate reflected precise counterpunching hampered by evident ring rust from his 3.5-year layoff, leading to diminished foot speed and stamina in the later rounds. Analysts noted Ali's pre-fight conditioning focused on sharpness over endurance, contributing to fatigue fatigue against Frazier's Barb and Weave style in the later rounds, though both demonstrated exceptional durability in absorbing over 700 combined clean punches without fight-ending stoppages. Okay, let's look at the economic and broadcast aspects of the fight of the century now. Economic and broadcast aspects. Of the fight of the century. Revenue generation and purses. The fight of the century generated a worldwide gross of approximately $20 million, establishing a new record that surpassed the previous high of $4.7 million from the 1963 Liston-Patterson rematch by about 4.5 times. Primary revenue streams included live ticket sales at Madison Square Garden, closed-circuit television broadcast to Yankee to theaters across the United States and internationally, and ancillary rights such as foreign distribution and fight films. The live gate alone yielded $1,352,952 from roughly 20,000 seats priced at an average of $100, setting an indoor boxing attendance record at the venue at that time. Closed-circuit telecasts distributed to over 370 locations formed the bulk of the income. Promoters Jerry Parenquillo and Jack Kent Cook securing deals that offset the event's high guarantees and expenses. And one of the promoters, Jack Kent Cook, he was the owner of the Washington Redskins at the time. Yeah, they were still called the Washington Redskins then too. Jack Kent Cook, one of the promoters of this fight, owned them then. 1971. Yes. Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier each received a guaranteed purse of $2.5 million, totaling $5 million for the fighters and marking the largest flat payout in boxing history at the time. These purses were financed up front by the promoters, who assumed financial risks through personal investments. Parenquillo contributed $750,000 and projections for television revenue to yield a net profit after recovering costs. Post-event audits confirmed the promoters netted $1.5 million in profit before taxes, split 60-40 in favor of Cook. Okay, excuse me for a minute, y'all. Pardon me for a minute. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. Miss Cass left without her key again. I'm back. Okay. No. Come out of here. Okay, Bruce Gass, Boxing, Jazz, and more. Salute, Bruce Gass. How are you today? Let's taking a look at the fight of the century today. That's all. Okay, we're talking about the economic and broadcast aspects of it now, but salute Bruce Gass. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, economic and broadcast aspects of the fight. Yeah, the promoters made $1.5 million profit and split 60-40 in favor of Jack Kent Cook, with additional gains for Cook from regional TV rights. The structure prioritized fighter guarantee over traditional percentage splits, reflecting the event's unprecedented promotional package assembled by Parenchio and Cook, independent of major boxing commissions. Excuse me. Damn. Boy. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay. Viewership metrics and media coverage. Viewership metrics and media coverage. Okay, viewership metrics and media coverage now. The fight of the century on March 8th, 1971, between Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali drew an estimated 300 million viewers worldwide through closed-circuit television transmissions and international broadcasts in at least 50 countries. In the United States, the fight was distributed by closed-circuit TV to approximately 370 cities, generating over $11 million in ticket sales for theater viewings. Radio coverage achieved a 63 share rating, indicating that 63% of American listeners tuned in. Media coverage was unprecedented for a boxing event, with extensive pre-fight and post-fight reporting across newspapers, magazines, and wire services that highlighted the matchup's cultural and political stakes. The Associated Press provided on-site reporting capturing Frazier's 15th round knockdown of Ali and unanimous decision victory. Prominent figures like Frank Sinatra contributed photographs for Life magazine, underscoring the event's celebrity allure and journalistic intensity. Outlets framed the fight as a proxy for national divisions over the Vietnam War and civil rights, with Ali's anti-war stance contrasting Frazier's establishment support, though such narratives often amplified symbolic interpretations over athletic analysis. Okay, let's look at the immediate aftermath of the fight now. The immediate aftermath. Okay, immediate aftermath. Fighters' reactions and recovery. Oh, excuse me. Keep yelling, man. Hey, why do you keep yelling? Jesus Christ. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay. Immediate aftermath. Fighters' reactions and recovery. Muhammad Ali, in his immediate post-fight interview on March 8, 1971, conceded the unanimous decision defeat to Joe Frazier, describing the fight as a grueling test of endurance and acknowledging Frazier's superior pressure and resilience over 15 rounds. He praised Frazier as a legitimate champion who had earned the victory through relentless effort, while admitting the physical demands had left him battered, including a visibly swollen jaw that prompted brief medical checks for fracture, ultimately ruled negative. Joe Frazier, speaking to reporters shortly after the win, expressed vindication after months of pre-fight skepticism and personal animosity. From Ali's taunts, declaring that his training and left hook had proven decisive in dethroning the self-proclaimed greatest. Frazier highlighted his ability to withstand Ali's combinations despite a nearly closed left eye from sustained punishment, emphasizing that the triumph validated his blue-collar preparation against Ali's showmanship. Frazier's comments reflected immediate elation, tempered by exhaustion, as he noted losing approximately 10 pounds during the fight due to its intensity. Both fighters required post-fight medical intervention, with Ali recovering swiftly after outpatient evaluation confirmed no structural damage beyond bruising and swelling, enabling him to resume fight-like activity within days. Frazier's recovery proved more protracted, hospitalized for several weeks at St. Louis's in Philadelphia. He received treatment for severe facial swelling, eye trauma, elevated blood pressure, and kidney strain from dehydration and accumulated damage, underscoring the fight's toll on the victim. Public and critical responses. The fight of the century elicited sharply divided public responses, mirroring broader societal fractures over race, the Vietnam War, and civil rights in early 1971 America. Supporters of Muhammad Ali, including many anti-war activists, intellectuals, and celebrities, viewed him as a symbol of resistance against government overreach, given his draft refusal and subsequent 3.5-year ban from boxing. Pre-fight polls and anecdotal sports reports indicated widespread favoritism toward Ali among urban and progressive demographics. In contrast, Joe Frazier drew backing from working-class audiences and those aligned with establishment values, often portrayed in media as the blue-collar underdog, despite holding the recognized heavyweight title. This polarization extended internationally, with an estimated 300 million viewers worldwide tuning in via closed-circuit television, amplifying the fight's cultural resonance. Crush, the legend. What's up, Crush? We're looking at the fight of the century today, Crush. Ali Frazier won. The 55th year anniversary is Sunday, March 8th. Fight took place March 8th, 1971. This weekend is the 55th anniversary, so we're taking a look at it today. Looking at a little aftermath of the fight now. But salute, Crush. A little aftermath of it, okay? Of the fight. It's already happened. Now we're looking at the aftermath. And Technique. What's up, Technique? Fight of the century today. We're up to the aftermath now. Frazier won by a 15-round unanimous decision. Dropped Ali with that left hook in the 15th round. He already had the fight won. Frazier really won widely, you know. He won the 6 of the first 8 rounds, and then Ali had a little bit of success in the middle rounds, and then Frazier closed the show out. One judge had him 11 rounds to 4. One, I think it was more like 9-6. That's what the referee had. The referee had a vote then. He had, I think it was about Arthur Mercante Sr. was the referee. Yeah, 9-6. That's what I thought. But okay. But salute, Crush and Technique. Talking about the aftermath of the fight now. Okay. Now, Frazier's unanimous decision victory on March 8, 1971 stunned Ali's partisans, prompting immediate claims from the loser that the fight lacked legitimacy as a true title fight. When it first entered in the ring, Ali gave Frazier all his props, but then later he started, here comes the complaints, okay? Now, prompted immediate claims from the loser that the contest lacked legitimacy as a true title fight, since Frazier had not faced him during Ali's reign as champion, a stance Ali reiterated in post-fight interviews to mitigate the impact of his first pro loss. Public celebrations ensued in Frazier's Philadelphia hometown, where throngs gathered to hail him as the rightful king of the heavyweights, while Ali's refusal to concede fully fueled ongoing debates and resentment, exacerbating personal animosity between the two fighters. No formal nationwide polls captured post-fight sentiment shifts, but radio listenership metrics reaching a 63 household rating, or over 60% of U.S. audiences, underscored the event's grip on public consciousness, outpacing modern Super Bowl equivalents. Yeah, that was bigger than the Super Bowl. Frazier Ali. Chris says the song for today is Inchworm by John Coltrane. Okay. John Coltrane. Bad man. All right. Now, critical responses from sports journalists and analysts uniformly affirmed Frazier's triumph as earned through superior stamina and pressure, with Associated Press reports highlighting his machine-like assault and the 15th round knockdown of Ali as decisive. Reviews praised the matchup's intensity, described as brutal, smart, fast, and exceeding expectations for heavyweight pacing, elevating it beyond mere spectacle to a tactical clinic. Though some outlets noted Ali's early dominance before fatigue from his layoff set in, I didn't see it that way. I saw Frazier don't usually start out as good as he was early in that fight, but I thought Frazier won the early part of the fight. But this is all subjective though. But mainstream media, often sympathetic to Ali's persona, acknowledged Frazier's validation as champion without disputing the scorecards. Yet, pre-fight narratives framing Frazier as an inferior Uncle Tom figure, echoing Ali's taunts, persisted in critiques, revealing underlying biases in coverage that prioritized cultural symbolism over pugilistic merit. This tension foreshadowed lasting debates, with historians later crediting the fight for exposing how journalistic preference for Ali's charisma sometimes overshadowed Frazier's grinding efficacy. Yeah, they were still biased after the fight toward Ali. But the long-term legacy of this fight, long-term legacy. Long-term legacy. Frazier Ali won. And they had two more after this. This was the biggest, most iconic of them, though. Told you, the daughters even fought 30 years later for the anniversary of this, for the 30th year anniversary, the men's two daughters fought. Don't get no more iconic than that. But long-term legacy. Influence on boxing careers and the sport of boxing. Influence on their careers and the sport. The fight of the century marked Muhammad Ali's first pro loss after a 3.5-year exile from boxing due to his refusal to be drafted into the Vietnam War, exposing vulnerabilities for ring rust despite his pre-fight bravado. Ali rebounded by defeating Jerry Corey on October 26th and Floyd Patterson on November 24th, 1972. Those were his first two fights after the Frazier loss. before a controversial split decision win over Ken Norton on September 20th, 1973. That was him and Norton's second fight, to position for a heavyweight title shot against George Foreman. Now, the loss propelled Ali to adapt his style, leading to a unanimous decision victory over Frazier on January 28, 1974, their first rematch, and his iconic rope-a-dope triumph over George Foreman on October 30th, 1974, reclaiming the undisputed heavyweight crown. However, the trilogy's head trauma, including the 1971 fight, contributed to early signs of neurological decline observed by Ali's physician, Ferdy Pacheco, post-fight, culminating in his Parkinson's disease diagnosis in 1984. For Joe Frazier, the unanimous decision victory on March 8, 1971, validated his claim as the true heavyweight champion, building on his February 16, 1970 stoppage of Jimmy Ellis, and dispelling notions of him as a placeholder title holder. They thought Ali was going to come right back and take the title back. But no, Smoking Joe won that first fight. Yes, he did. Yeah, that's right. Jaw, what's happening? I mean, Jaw, what's happening? Salute. I can't pronounce your other name right there. But salute. Yeah, heavyweights, bigger than the Super Bowl, man. But everybody thought Frazier was just holding on to the title until Ali came back, but no, Frazier defended it successfully in that first fight. Yes, he did. And the win elevated Frazier's profile, but exacted immediate physical costs, including hospitalization for dehydration, elevated blood pressure, and kidney strain, foreshadowing the toll of his aggressive, swarming style. Now, Frazier defended his title against Ali in the 1974 rematch, but suffered a technical knockout, loss. He suffered a technical knockout loss to Foreman on January 22nd, 1973, to lose his titles, after which his career waned. Then the October 1st, 1975 thriller in Manila stopped in the 14th round due to Frazier's near blindness from swelling, marked his competitive decline as his trainer Eddie Futch prioritized health and continuation, right? Long-term, Frazier endured chronic eye damage and mobility issues from the rivalry's punishment, though less severe than Ali's neurodegenerative conditions. Yeah, Frazier was legally blind in one eye before that. He had got swiped in the eye by a giant pig when he was young. So yeah, his eyesight was already bad before his boxing career even began. But he always managed to get past the eye exams and everything. Now, the fight redefined the heavyweight division as boxing's premier attraction during the 1970s, intensifying rivalries among Ali, Frazier, Foreman, and Norton, and establishing benchmarks for endurance and tactical depth that modern heavyweights invoke for comparison. It pioneered closed-circuit television distribution, blacking out broadcast TV to create a spectacle that amplified global reach and promotional hype, with celebrities like Frank Sinatra involved in coverage. Yeah, Frank was the official photographer for the fight of the century. Frank Sinatra couldn't even get a ticket, so he became the photographer for Life magazine to get in. Wow. That was just Frank's way of getting up out of the ring. You know, somebody would have gave Frank Sinatra a ticket. One of the fighters would have got Frank in. Frank wanted to be right there by the ring, so he was a photographer for Life magazine. Yeah. And by showcasing contrasting styles, Ali's speed and evasion against Frazier's relentless pressure. The fight underscored boxing's strategic evolution while highlighting its inherent risks, influencing later safety protocols amid revelations of fighters' lasting injuries. Cultural and societal repercussions. Cultural and societal repercussions. Almost to the end. I got some other heavyweights to talk about too, other than not named Ali, Norton, Frazier, or Foreman from the 70s. They weren't the only ones back in them 70s. There were some other killers back there too. We're going to talk about some of them in a minute. But cultural and societal repercussions. The fight of the century intensified intra-racial divisions within the Black American community as Muhammad Ali's pre-fight taunts portrayed Joe Frazier as an Uncle Tom figure, aligned with white authority, contrasting Ali's self-presentation as a radical voice against the Vietnam War and systemic racism. This rhetoric, amplified by Ali's association with the Nation of Islam, resonated with younger urban blacks who saw him as embodying authentic resistance, while alienating segments of the black working class that viewed Frazier, raised in rural South Carolina poverty, as a relatable everyday man who had earned the heavyweight title through traditional means without draft evasion. Post-fight, Ali's defeat on March 8, 1971 did not diminish his cultural stature among supporters. Instead, it fueled narratives of resilience, with many interpreting Frazier's victory, backed by establishment figures like President Richard M. Nixon, as a temporary triumph of conformity over defiance, further entrenching Ali's role as a folk hero in Black cultural memory. Frazier, conversely, faced enduring resentment from Ali's camp and fans, who dismissed his win as undeserved, exacerbating a personal and communal rift that persisted for decades and highlighted class-based fractures in Black identity politics during this era. Yeah, they didn't reconcile to him. Frazier was actually on his deathbed when he finally forgave Ali for all that everything that went on. I think Frazier passed, what was it, 2011? Yeah. Because as late as 1996, Frazier was still. Now, they made public appearances together and everything, but they just put a good face on it, getting paid money and everything. But no, Frazier really didn't like Ali his entire life. He never forgave him. Because he loaned him money. He tried to get President Nixon to lift Ali's ban and everything. He boycotted the tournament they had to replace Ali as champion, Frazier did. And then the way Ali treated him before that fight, yeah, it took Frazier decades to forgive Ali for that. Decades. Yes, it did. On a broader societal level, the fight mirrored national schisms over patriotism and authority, with polling data from the time showing older white Americans predominantly favoring Frazier as a legitimate champion, while anti-war youth and most Black Americans backed Ali, framing the event as a proxy for cultural warfare amid civil rights unrest and military conscription debates. This polarization extended to global perceptions, positioning the fight as an emblem of American internal conflict during the Cold War, where Ali's international appeal, bolstered by his opposition to U.S. intervention in Vietnam, contrasted with Frazier's domestic validation, influencing how boxing interacted with geopolitical soft power narratives. Long term, the rivalry's legacy reshaped cultural understandings of athletic authenticity and masculinity, inspiring artistic works like Mark Cram's 2008 book, Smokin' Joe, the autobiography of the greatest heavyweight champion of all time, which critiqued Ali's psychological tactics as a divisive, and documentaries that examined how the fights underscored ideological splits in a post-civil rights Black America rather than unifying it. The enduring animosity evident in Frazier's public bitterness until his death in 2011 underscored causal links between pre-fight hype and lasting personal harm, cautioning against viewing such spectacles as mere entertainment amid societal tensions. Finally, controversies and alternative perspectives. Controversies and alternative perspectives. Last thing on the fight of the century. Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier. There they are. I think that was when they were together at the NBA All-Star game. And Joe Frazier really hadn't forgave Ali then, but they probably paid him money to sit there together like that. So, Frazier put a good face on it and just enjoyed himself, but he really hadn't forgave Ali yet. Controversies and alternative perspectives. Media bias and narrative framing. Media coverage of the fight of the century positioned the March 8, 1971 fight as a microcosm of national divisions over the Vietnam War and civil rights, with Muhammad Ali cast as a symbol of defiance and Joe Frazier as an emblem of establishment conformity. Ali's vocal opposition to the draft and affiliation with the Nation of Islam amplified his image as a cultural insurgent, resonating with anti-war factions and countercultural elements that dominated segments of the press. In contrast, Frazier's military service and quiet demeanor led to his portrayal as a designated Black representative of traditional values, a framing that some journalists adopted to counter Ali's radicalism, but which often reinforced narratives of Frazier as less dynamic or ideologically compliant. Pre-fight reporting, such as in the New York Times, highlighted the moral drama inherent in the matchup, depicting Ali as a polarizing figure, hero to admirers of his global charisma and principled stand against conscription, yet villain to those viewing his stance as unpatriotic, while affording Frazier a more subdued profile as the relentless traditional heavyweight. Ali's provocations, including labeling Frazier as Uncle Tom, received extensive play in the build-up, with coverage frequently contextualizing them as performative bravado rather than inflammatory rhetoric, reflecting a broader media inclination to indulge Ali's showmanship amid sympathy for his exile-driven narrative. This dynamic aligned with prevailing sentiments in liberal-leaning outlets, where Ali's alignment with emerging social critiques overshadowed Frazier's credentials as the active champion who had unified the division during Ali's 43 months absence. Public opinion mirrored these divides, with youth and urban progressives rallying behind Ali as a proxy for dissent, while working class and older demographics supported Frazier, yet press narratives often amplified the former through celebrity endorsements and cultural commentary. Post-fight accounts acknowledged Frazier's unanimous decision triumph, but some emphasized Ali's 15th round knockdown recovery and overall grit, framing the outcome as a temporary setback rather than a definitive validation of Frazier's superiority, which sustained hype for subsequent encounters. Such emphasis underscored a pattern where media priorities influenced by Ali's marketability and ideological appeal, occasionally tempered recognition of Frazier's tactical dominance, including 232 punches landed to Ali's 161. This selective framing persisted, contributing to Frazier's expressed grievances over diminished acclaim relative to Ali's enduring legacy in sports journalism. Okay, and then political exploitation, including COINTELPRO. That was a counterintelligence arm of the FBI, where they would try to keep an eye on and spy on Ali, Martin Luther King, liberal groups, the Nation of Islam. Yeah, just a counterintelligence arm of the FBI. Political exploitation, including COINTELPRO. The fight of the century. Oh, what are we back in the beginning? Okay, here we go. Excuse me for one moment, please. Fight of the century. Okay. The fight of the century between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, March 8, 1971, served as a proxy for broader political divisions in the United States, particularly over the Vietnam War and racial politics. Now, Ali stripped of his boxing title in 1967 for refusing induction into the military on religious and conscientious grounds, embodied opposition to the war and affiliation with the Nation of Islam, drawing support from anti-establishment and black nationalist circles. In contrast, Frazier, who had not publicly opposed the draft and maintained a more conventional image as a self-made athlete from humble origins, was positioned by some as a symbol of traditional American values and achievement through hard work. This framing exacerbated racial and ideological tensions within the black community, with Ali's supporters viewing Frazier as complicit in the system, while Frazier's backers saw Ali as unpatriotic. The Nixon administration actively leveraged the matchup to bolster its domestic image amid escalating war protests. Prior to the fight, President Richard Nixon hosted Frazier at the White House on February 16, 1971, where he praised the challenger's discipline and implicitly contrasted it with Ali's stance, reportedly expressing hope that Frazier's victory would demonstrate black success without reliance on confrontation or separatism. Nixon watched the fight from the White House Family Theater, cheering Frazier's win as a personal triumph that aligned with administration efforts to appeal to working class voters, skeptical of radical activism. Yet Nixon was a big-time sports fan overall. He used to be at all the New York Giants games in the 70s. You know, after he was president and everything, they used to show him at all the games sitting up there in the press box. Richard Nixon. Al Booger in the building. And BBO Sports TV. We winding down on the fight of the century. We look at the politics surrounding it now. This is the last section on it, but salute Al Booger and BBO. Yeah, we winding down on the talking about the politics surrounding the fight now. We done covered the fight and the build up and all of that. But yeah, Nixon was for Frazier. Okay. And he was a big time sports fan. And I can't find out where I was at. Nixon watched the fight. Yeah, Nixon was for Frazier. Watched the fight from the White House family room. Such endorsements fueled perceptions of the fight as a tool for political signaling, with Frazier later receiving financial aid from government allies during his career. So he distanced himself from overt partisanship. Now, the Federal Bureau of Investigation surveillance of Ali intersected with these dynamics through the COINTELPRO program. This is an arm of counterintelligence program of the FBI, which was a covert operation from 1956 to 1971, aimed at disrupting domestic political groups deemed subversive, including civil rights organizations, anti-war activists, and Black nationalistic entities like the Nation of Islam. This was led by J. Edgar Hoover. The FBI maintained extensive files on Ali, monitoring his speeches, associations, and influence as part of efforts to neutralize perceived threats from figures promoting racial separatism or draft resistance, with over 4,000 pages of documents later declassified, detailing videotapes and informants targeting Ali since the early 1960s, when he first came out as a Muslim. Wow, a lot of info on Ali. Now, while no direct evidence links COINTELPRO to manipulating the Ali-Frazier rivalry itself, the program's tactics of sowing discord within Black communities, such as anonymous letters and media leaks to exacerbate internal divisions, align with the broader exploitation of the fighters' personal animosity for public consumption. Yeah, FBI was good at that. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Paradoxically, the fight's national preoccupation enabled a direct challenge to COINTELPRO on the same evening. At approximately 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as the fight unfolded before an estimated 300 million global viewers, 8 members of the Citizens Commission to investigate the FBI burglarized the agency's resident offices in Media, Pennsylvania, stealing over 1,000 documents that exposed COINTELPRO's illegal activities, including surveillance on Ali, Martin Luther King Jr., and Vietnam protesters. They put some of their FBI's own medicine on them. They broke into their offices and stole some of the documents. They found some documents that included surveillance on Ali, Martin Luther King, and other Vietnam War protesters. The group timed the operation for the fight's peak distraction, mailing the files anonymously to journalists, like those at the Washington Post by March 24th, 1971, which prompted congressional investigations and the program's official termination in April 1971. So they successfully got the program closed down. This event underscored how the matchup's cultural dominance inadvertently facilitated scrutiny of government overreach, targeting Ali through mainstream coverage at the time prioritized the sports outcome over the burglaries revelations. Yeah. Evaluations of fighters' personal stances. Evaluation of fighters' personal stances. Ali's opposition to the Vietnam War stemmed from his conscientious objector status, rooted in Nation of Islam teachings that prohibited participation in non-defensive conflict and emphasized Black self-determination over foreign entanglements. In April 1967, Ali refused induction, declaring, "I ain't got no problem with them Viet Cong." linking domestic racial injustice, such as police brutality and segregation, to his reluctance to fight abroad, a view that aligned with empirical disparities in U.S. military service, where Black Americans, 11% of the population, accounted for 12.6% of Army personnel and 20% of combat deaths by 1967. This stance, while principled in highlighting causal hypocrisy between American ideals and practice, was intertwined with Nation of Islam doctrine, advocating racial separatism and portraying whites as devils. Positions that rejected integrationist civil rights strategies and drew criticism for fostering division rather than coalition building against systemic racism. Ali's conviction for draft evasion in June 1967 led to a 5-year prison sentence, overturned on appeal, and a boxing ban until 1970, demonstrating the high personal cost of his resistance, which mainstream narrative later romanticized but often overlooked Nation of Islam's conservative social descriptions, including gender roles and anti-miscegenation views. Joe Frazier, by contrast, endorsed U.S. military engagement in Vietnam, viewing Ali's refusal as his right. But Joe Frazier was against the war, but he still backed Ali, said he could believe in what he wanted to believe in. Okay, he said Ali's refusal, that was his right, although he endorsed the war. Okay, now Joe Frazier's perspective was shaped by his working class Christian background in segregated South Carolina, where self-reliance trumped ideological distractions. Frazier, who avoided the draft due to a prior boxing injury, but expressed support for truth, resented being cast as an establishment proxy or Uncle Tom by Ali's camp, a framing that ignored his own poverty, 10th of 12 children, sharecropping on 4 acres, and advocacy for Ali's reinstatement, including financial aid and congressional testimony in 1970. You're afraid you did these things in support of Ali. This portrayal, amplified by counterculture media, exaggerated Frazier's conservatism. He prioritized personal honor and economic uplift over political radicalism, aligning with many Black American servicemen who bore disproportionate burdens in Vietnam without public acclaim. Evaluations of Frazier's stance credit its realism, acknowledging geopolitical containment of communism and Cold War threats, but critique its deference to state authority, potentially underestimating domestic reforms' precedence over overseas commitments, though data on Black veteran outcomes post-war underscore unaddressed causal failures in reintegration regardless of individual views. The fighters' stances, while polarized in public perception, reveal nuances overlooked in biased retellings that elevate Ali's defiance as unalloyed heroism while caricaturing Frazier's patriotism. Ali's position accelerated war skepticism, correlating with peaking U.S. troop levels, 536,000 in 1968, and domestic unrest. Yet its separatist undertones limited universal applicability, contrasting Frazier's emphasis on meritocratic ascent through boxing amid shared racial adversity. Both embodied causal responses to era-specific pressures, Ali rejecting imperial overreach, Frazier affirming institutional loyalty, but neither fully grappled with Vietnam's strategic miscalculations, such as Floyd domino theory assumption yielding 58,000 American deaths by 1975 without containing communism's regional spread What they went there for, to stop communism. When they left in 1975, communism was just as bad or even worse when they went. 58,000 Americans died for nothing, for nothing. They just tucked their tails between their legs and left Vietnam. And it was in the same state that it was when they first went there back in the 50s. Crazy, just crazy. Historical analysis note how left-leaning outlets privilege Ali's narratives, sidelining Frazier's agency and the empirical service of black draftees, thus distorting evaluations toward symbolic rather than substantive truth. And there you have it, the fight of the century. Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. There they go. All right. B42. Okay, yeah, I had something on some other heavyweights, but we're running out of time, so we can start it though. Excuse me for a minute. One moment. One momento. Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, the fight of the century. Sunday is the 55th year anniversary of it. Yep. Okay, excuse me for 1 minute. Oh, shoot. One moment. I had a nice little thing on some other heavyweights that I wrote up, but okay, let's take a look at that. We got like 20 minutes. This is just on heavyweight boxing in the 70s, since we were on the fight of the century today. Now, heavyweight boxing in the 1970s was characterized by fierce rivalries, great championship fights, and belts changing hands. The decade is thought of as the golden age in the heavyweight division by many boxing historians, experts, and fans alike. Ali returned from his forced retirement early in the decade in 1970. Joe Frazier had won the titles that had been stripped from Ali by the time Ali returned. Former world champion champions Jimmy Ellis and Floyd Patterson, along with George Foreman, Oscar Bonavena, Jerry Quarry, Ernie Shavers, Leon Spinks, Ken Norton, Larry Holmes, Ron Stander, Chuck Webner, Jose Roman, John Tate, Jimmy Young, Ron Lyle, Joe Bugner, and Scott Liddell are just some of the names that made the 70s such a great decade for the division. Ali and Frazier's historic trilogy was part of the decade, and no other rivalry in boxing have come close to topping those three fights before or since. But now we're going to talk about some heavyweights who fought in the era of the 70s, not named Ali, Frazier, or Foreman, because anytime heavyweights and the decade of the 70s are mentioned, those are the first three names that come to mind. But there were many other great fighters that fought in the decade in the heavyweight division. So let's take a look at some of them, okay, to close the show out. Dwayne David Barbic was born August 24th, 1950 in Little Falls, Minnesota. As an amateur, Barbic won the gold medal at the 1971 Pan American Games and fought at the 1972 Olympics, eventually losing to the eventual gold medalist, Teofilo Stevenson. He then turned pro in 1973 and retired in 1979 with a record of 48 wins, 4 losses, 42 knockouts. All his losses were by knockout. He scored notable wins over future heavyweight champions Mike Weaver and contender Chuck Webner, Scott Liddell, Randy Newman, and Manuel Ramos. From 1973 to 1977, Barbic compiled a record of 38 wins and no losses with 32 knockouts, which made him the number 3 contender in the division before it was defeated by number 1 contender, Ken Norton. After his boxing career ended, Barbic was diagnosed with dementia pugilistica in 1997, and his decline was noteworthy. After his diagnosis, he was quoted as saying, "I'm not sure I would have gone into boxing back then if I would have known all the effects of head trauma that I know today. But I don't regret the experience, intense training, and discipline I learned from the sport." Dwayne Barbic. Okay. Talking about a couple of heavyweights before we go. Not named Ali, Norton, Foreman, Frazier in the 70s, but some other great ones. Joe Buckner. Joseph Buckner was born on March 13th, 1950 in Hungary. Buckner and his family fled to the United Kingdom after the Soviet Union invaded Hungary in 1956. Now, Buckner had a brief amateur career, winning 13 of 16 fights. He turned pro in 1967 at the age of 17. He lost his debut against Paul Brown by 3rd round TKO, showing a gritty determination that he became known for after his debut. He won his next 18 straight fights, including 13 stoppages. Entering the 1970s, Buckner emerged as an outstanding young prospect and was world rated by the end of 1970. He won 9 straight fights in 1970, including wins over well-known boxers like Chuck Webner, Manuel Ramos, Johnny Prescott, Brian London, Eduardo Coletti, Charlie Polite, and George Johnson. Buckner earned a reputation early in his career as a tough, durable boxer, and he retained that reputation throughout his career. In March 1971, Buckner won a 15-round decision over British boxer Henry Cooper, which many thought Cooper won, and the fight is regarded as one of the most controversial British boxing history. The win had Buckner ranked among the world's top 10 heavyweights for the first time in his career. In 1973, the 23-year-old Buckner fought Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier back-to-back. He lost 12-round decisions to both fighters, but he fought well in both fights, earning the respect of the media and the public alike. He unsuccessfully challenged Ali for the title in 1975 in a rematch, losing a unanimous decision. And Buckner retired from boxing in 1976, but made sporadic returns over the next 2 decades. He retired for good in 1999 with a final record of 69 wins, 13 losses, 1 draw, 43 knockouts, 83-fight career for Joe Buckner. Okay, let's get another one in. We're just looking at some other boxers from the 70s now. Jimmy Ellis. James Albert Ellis was born February 24th, 1940 in Louisville, Kentucky. He was a world champion in 1968, defeating Jerry Quarry for the WBA title. He made 1 successful defense against Floyd Patterson before losing it to Joe Frazier in 1970. Ellis got into boxing as a teenager after watching a friend box a fellow Louisville youngster, Muhammad Ali, then known as Cassius Clay, in a local amateur boxing television show called Tomorrow's Champions. He won 59 of 66 amateur fights. He had 2 amateur fights against Muhammad Ali, which they split. Ellis turned pro as a middleweight in 1961. At the end of 1964, after losing 3 out of 4 fights, Ellis changed trainers, hiring legendary trainer Angelo Dundee. And 6 of his first 8 fights with Dundee, were on Ali undercards. By the mid-1960s, Ellis had moved to heavyweight. He fought Ali on July 26, 1971. Dundee, who trained both fighters, chose to work with Ellis because, as also Ellis' manager, he got a larger share of the purse. Harry Wiley, who had worked with Henry Armstrong and Sugar Ray Robinson, worked with Ali for this fight. In Dundee's absence, Ali won by 12-round TKO. I had to write that down, Harry Wiley, okay? After the loss to Ali, Ellis went on an 8-fight winning streak, but he never regained the heavyweight title again. His last fight was on May 6, 1975, when he knocked out club fighter Carl Baker in 1 round. Ellis retired at age 35 after a training injury left him partially blind in his left eye. Ellis finished with a record of 40 wins, 12 losses, 1 draw, 25 knockouts. Jimmy Ellis. Yeah, Harry Wiley. That was the one that trained Ali when he worked with Angelo Dundee. When he fought Jimmy Ellis, and Angelo Dundee was in Ellis's corner because he was also Ellis's man. He got a bigger share of the purse. Harry Wiley used to work with Henry Armstrong, Sugar Ray Robinson. That's who Ali got for that fight. Always struggling to remember that. But I got it written down now. Okay, let's do one more. Heavyweight, then we're going to get out of here. Which is going to be, who was that? Jimmy Ellis? Larry Holmes, the Eastern. Now we know enough about Larry. Ron Law. Ronald David Law was born February 12th, 1941 in Dayton, Ohio. He competed from 1971 to 1980, and in 1995 made a comeback. He challenged unsuccessfully for the World Heavyweight Championship, losing to Muhammad Ali in 1975. Known for his punching power, crowd-pleasing fighting style, and his courage and determination in the ring. Law defeated Buster Mathis, Oscar Bonavena, Jimmy Ellis, Vicente Rondon, Ernie Shavers, Joe Bugner, Gregorio Peralta, and Scott Liddell. But is best known for his fight against George Foreman in 1976, which was voted Fight of the Year by the Ring magazine and also included Round of the Year, round 4. When Law was 19, he was involved in the shooting death of a rival gang member and was sentenced to 15 to 25 years in prison. He nearly died in prison after being stabbed by another inmate. Afterward, in solitary confinement, he began doing push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and other exercises, and he trained regularly from then on. He attended a prison boxing event in 1962 as a spectator and decided he could compete in the sport and began boxing in prison. He was released from prison in 1969 and continued boxing, winning 17 of 52 fights as an amateur. Law turned pro at the age of 30 in 1971, winning his first 19 fights, 17 by knockout. Law retired in 1980 and made several comebacks, retiring for good in 1995 at the age of 54. He finished his career with 43 wins, 7 losses, and 1 draw, 31 knockouts over a 51-fight career. After he turned pro, Law visited his fellow inmates in prison the day before or after each and every pro fight. Okay, there you have it. Fight of the century today. Let's look at a couple other heavyweights. Okay, today is Friday. We will be back Monday with another show. BBO Sports TV, Al Booger, Jaw, Technique, Crush the Legend, Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more, Mike Mazik, and Miss Cass. Everybody have a great weekend. Appreciate you for stopping by today. Hit the like, subscribe, Put $1 million in the Cash App or Super Chat. And we will do it again Monday. Got Just Do Boxing coming up next. No BBO tonight. It's Friday. Arnie Boxing at 9. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Box Storian bringing you all that boxing history. Cass Sports, the Box Storian. Have a great weekend. Appreciate y'all 1,000,000%.